Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining our One Hub webinar from 3 days to 3 hours, how you can accelerate your finance approvals without having to go through any emails chasing. And my name is Semin Balasuri. I'll be your host for today. And with me, I have Praveen Premkumar as well, who is our director at ZILLIONe Technology. So today's agenda, we'll cover the approval bottleneck, what you guys are facing right now in your own company, where exactly the payments are getting really stuck, and the solution that we have built for an answer to it, which is OneHub, how you can send payments directly from your ERP system to the bank, and the approval matrix, the specific module inside OneHub, which will let you approve all the payments before it's getting processed from the bank side through an email directly from your ERP. I will be doing a live demonstration of OneHub also, how you can see all the modules which we have in the product, and then later on we'll open the session for any questions that you want answers to. So to start off with the problem, so it's actually not the payment that is slow, but the wait for the approval, which is actually taking so much time. So I feel like every day in all the corporations, all the organizations right now, when you have posted payments from your ERP system, you still have to log into banking platforms, each and every one manually in order to process your payments. So the bank can move money in the seconds, like just like that when you post the payments directly from the banking portal, but then again the payment file sits and wait in order for it to be approved before it's been processed from the bank. So whatever signatory that has to authorize these payments could be having their own daily work, and they could have forgotten that these payments are there to even be approved. And in order to cut that time, which we believe we can cut 60% of the time, and 3 days worth of payment approvals that takes usually in each and every organization, we have created a solution for that, and that is OneHub. So OneHub is an integration layer between your ERP system and your bank, where all the payments, approvals, reconciliation flows can be handled, where you don't have to no longer log into multiple banking portals or having to go through all these approval matrices that you guys could be having inside the bank itself. So as a replacement for the post authorization banking approvals, you could have that approval built inside OneHub itself. So we have the payout and the pullback and the approve and control. So we have all three functionalities that a bank provides you inside their banking platforms, inside each and every bank's platforms. We have it built inside OneHub. So we can send directly payments connected from your ERP system to the bank. It could be a payroll payment, supplier payment, or any other payments that can be that are posted in your ERP will be leaving the ERP and then directly go to the bank via API. And we can pull all the transactions, balances, any transaction statuses that has been processed already, also back to the ERP through OneUp. And what we are highlighting today would be the approve and control part, where how the right people can approve any transaction that has been posted from the ERP system through the inbox of their email without having to log into any banking platforms to authorize, or without having to have these other different mechanisms where you guys are using right now to get authorization to process these payments. So how it works is you have your ERP system. It could be any business application system that process payments. So it could be an ERP system, could be an HRM system, and you have OneHub in between that and your bank. So for an instance, now if you are to outbound any payments, so with in between when between the ERP and the bank, when you have OneHub, you can process payments directly from the ERP to the bank, as well as you can take all the transactions, like I said, into the OneHub and then directly pass it to the ERP as well. So we have both bidirectional functionalities built. So this is the core of the OneHub. We have built OneHub in order to answer the problem where you have to log into multiple banking portals. So OneHub lets you connect your system to every bank account that you have that you want to process payments with, and you'll have real-time visibility for each and every transaction status, transaction history, account balances, as well as you'll have filtering mechanisms where you can filter and see for which bank account you have how much of account balance is there, and all the other details that are still visible from the banking portal. You can just have it inside OneHub itself. So like I explained before that, pay straight from your ERP. So we have these three different mechanisms we have built. We can directly automate the payment from your ERP system to the bank, which you don't have to again log into OneHub. But then again, the payment, as soon as you post it from your ERP system, it directly goes to the bank via OneHub. And also we have this approval matrix that we have built, which I'll explain to you in the next slide, where the authorization signatories can approve the payments inside OneHub and then let it pass it to the bank, or it can be another enterer who has to transfer these payments to be approved inside OneHub and then send it to the bank. So we have built these different workflows inside OneHub to let your payments straight away pass through from your ERP to the bank. So we facilitate all the payroll payments, supplier batches, payment types such as SEF, slips, and RTJs, and even telegraphic transfer payments. If the bank allows us to do, if the bank is having the ability and having the facilitation of APIs for telegraphic transfer payments, we can still enable that as well. So to summarize, multiple banks, you don't have to log into multiple banking platforms, but rather connect all your banks to one hub. So you can have one workflow to all the banks that you are using. And all these transactions are happening in real time. And we have an option where you can schedule the payment for a specific date and time as well. And rather than having to send individual payments line by line, we can send batch payments directly from the ERP via one hub to the bank as well. And the approval matrix, which is the biggest problem that we are discussing here. So the approval bottleneck, how it is solved. So like I explained in the earlier slide, the very first slide. So right now the payments files can be getting printed and then it can be emailed for a signatory, waiting for them to approve the payment, or could be over phone or WhatsApp the payment to get it approved. So we can save almost all the days and hours that we are spending to get a payment authorized through by sending it via the ERP to an email of the signatory, so that they just have to log into their mobile or to their laptop, go to the email inbox, see the email that is there, which is pending for their approval, and then just approve it. So likewise, payments can be processed automatically and save hours and even days. So how we have built this module is we have a specifically designed module called approval matrix, where you can approve a payment with a single email, like I explained. So we have signatories that you can assign for each and every transaction range. So for an example, now if I take from 10,000 to 100,000, you have two signatories to approve those payments directly from the ERP. When a payment is sent which falls under that bracket itself, then that payment will directly go to those two signatories who have to approve the payment. Likewise, you can set signatories by amount, as well as, let's say if a signatory is not available at that moment, then you can quickly create a delegate inside the approval matrix, where that delegate will be the one who is now responsible in order to approve that payment. And all these approvals can happen directly via email, as well as inside OneHub also you can send the transaction to that authorizer, so that authorizer can log into OneHub and approve the payment also. So we have these two different mechanisms in order to approve payments via email as well as through OneHub as well. So what and who we have partnered up with right now, and what we support in terms of ERP. So we support Sage 300 ERP, Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central, as well as SAP B1. We are currently in the integration with SAP S4HANA as well. And the banking partners that we have are HSBC, Commercial, Ceylon, DFCC, Nations Trust, HNB, and Sampat Bank. So even if your bank is not here, we can still connect with your bank and try and see their integration capabilities, where we can connect with the bank and then directly do the implementation of OneHub to your environment. So this is an introduction on OneHub and the approval matrices that we have built and also the functionalities of OneHub. So next I will actually show you a demonstration of the product itself, the product modules, and then again, what are the functionalities that I just explained, how it's visible in the product. Yes, so this is the interface for OneHub. So as you can see, you have the login portal right in here. You can enter your email address, your password, and we support Microsoft authentication logins as well. So right now I'm logging as an enterer. So when you sign in, we have these modules in the left side panel: dashboard, fund transfer, transaction retrieval, vendor master, approval matrix, and audit log. So soon as you log into OneHub, you will be directed into the status module under fund transfer. In here, what you can see is all the payments that have been already processed from the bank or yet to be processed from the bank. So now you can see the batch number, the clients or the vendor's bank name, their bank account number, the total amount, process date, and the timestamp, and then the total entry counts that is coming under that batch. So for an example, under this batch, if there are multiple payments, multiple entries, then you can see the entry count, and you can just click expand in here, and you can see the information, minor information of each and every transaction entry that has been posted. So likewise, the transfer type and status, also whoever who has authorized. So under the authorizer section, you can see who has to authorize this payment. Now, this is what I explained in the approval matrix part. I'll go to the approval matrix module as well. But in here, you can see for each and every transaction, who has to approve those payments and have they approved the payment yet or not. So for an example, in here we have Sia, John, and Kaja. So these delegates have been assigned to in order to approve this payment, but they haven't approved it yet. So we can quickly resend a mail to them reminding them that they have this payment to be authorized, or we can just wait until they authorize so that the status in here will change from pending to approved. Likewise, each and every entry can be visible in here with whoever who has to authorize this payment likewise. So the status submodule is a summary of all the transactions that has been sent through OneHub to the bank and what's the current status of that transaction. So if I come back to transfers, the transfers is from your ERP system. You haven't posted directly to the bank, but then again you have sent it to OneHub so that someone can log into OneHub and then send it to an authorizer to approve the payment. So for an example, now I can select this transaction and then I can see the transaction details again. And then, like I said, we have the functionality where you can schedule a payment when and at exactly what time you need to process that payment, and then just click proceed. So when you click proceed, you can see who has to authorize this payment. So this is a manual authorization that you can assign to for each and every payment that you have. So this is what we have built the approval matrix in order to automate and directly send via an email. But then again, based on your requirement, if you want the transfers to come to OneHub and then someone can log into OneHub, and then if you need to select the authorizer manually, you have this option as well under transfers. So likewise, there's a rejected submodule also. So rejected reasons, there could be multiple rejected reasons. From the bank side, there could be lack of funds in your account for a payment to be rejected, or it could be an authorizer who rejects the payment for any reason. All those rejected payments will directly show up in this rejected submodule. So again, when it comes to rejected, whatever the payments that are falling under rejected, you don't have to again go and initiate from your ERP system, because we can enable all these rejected payments that comes under this submodule, go back to transfers, and then from transfers itself, you can select the authorizer who has to approve and then again initiate it. So that means that you don't have to log into ERP system or go ahead and create another payment in your payment journal and post to OneUp, but rather do that rejection. Rather, you can manage that rejected payment inside OneHub itself. So that is a functionality that we have built for rejected payments, how to handle the rejected payments. So likewise, under fund transfer module, fund transfer is simply how you can navigate all the payments that are posted from your ERP system. You have the option to see all the statuses of the transactions, as well as you can see who has to approve those payments and if they have approved, and if you want to manually select an authorizer to approve those payments, as well as the rejected payments, you can again reinitiate it through fund transfer module. So if I am to go to the dashboard, so this is the dashboard that you can see in OneHub. So you can see a timed, so we have a timestamp as in a time duration or a date picker that you can use to select for which time range, what are the transactions that are awaiting for someone's approval, or what are the transactions that have been already approved. And in here, you can see your bank accounts that have been connected to OneHub. So you can select the bank account that you want to see a summary of inside the dashboard in here. And here you can see it says awaiting my action. So what it means is, now you can see if I click this, you'll be directed to transfers, meaning as an enter, what you can do is you can select a transaction that is in transfers and send it to someone to authorize. So that itself is coming under dashboard, which so you can see what are the pending activities for you to do. And approved volume explains all the payments that have been authorized by authorizers. The total of that settlement comes in here. Likewise, we have built different information tabs in here. So pending transactions or in progress, what are the transactions that are still in progress, what have been approved already, if there are any rejected ones, likewise, and also a summary of your account details. So your account number, for your account number, what's the available balance currently right now, and what was the opening balance and the closing balance according to the time range that is selected in here as well. Likewise, a quick dashboard that gives you the access to your bank account view, so that you don't have to log into the banking portal and again select your bank account and see all this information, but rather have all your banks connected to OneUp and just have a glance at all the information that you want to see. So the dashboard is built for that. And the next is the transaction retrieval. So transaction retrieval is all the transaction data that we are pulling from the bank that we are showing up in here. So this is not just the payments that we are processing from the OneHub from the ERP system, but rather all the transactions that have been processed from your bank account, we can view it in here. So we have the filters like quick date for today, what are the transactions that have been received, as in like what have been debited from your account or what have been credited to your account. And you can have the last 7 days view or the last 30 days view. You can have a time range. And so you can see all the information of the payments that have been all. It's an essential glance at your account itself. So you can see now from your account 450,000 has been debited, and what's the current balance after that. So what's the transaction ID, and what's the narration that comes with that transaction. So all the information you can view it in here. So this transaction retrieval, think of it as looking at your bank statement, but inside OneHub itself to all the bank accounts. And the next is the vendor master. So vendor master is specifically built to support all the ERP systems that do not save vendors' bank information. For an example, Sage 300 is an ERP system that doesn't support or that doesn't have that specific module where you can store all the vendors' bank details inside it. So what we have done is we have created a separate module called Vendor Master where you can store all your vendors' bank details. Now, if I click to view vendor details, you can see the vendor's name. Their ID will come from directly to the directly. It'll sync the ERP's ID, the bank name, bank account number, branch code, email addresses, and likewise all the information of your vendor inside OneHub itself. So these vendors information are being taken in are being stored in here, so that whenever a payment is processed from your ERP system, it maps into the vendor's information that is saved in OneHub, so that transaction gets processed without having any trouble. uh, Next is the approval matrix, what we have spoken during the presentation as well. So now you can see all the approvals that has been created inside this OneHub approval matrix module itself right now. So what you can do is you can click at the approval rule, and you can see you can give a minimum value and a maximum value. You can give a range, and you can assign authorizers who have to approve these payments. So now, for an example, if I select 100,000. So I gave a range from minimum to maximum value. These ranges, when you are creating, you can't overlap with whatever that have been created already. And you can select one or multiple authorizers that have to approve this payment, approve any payment that falls under this range. And you click create. So what happens in here is, now, as soon as you create an approval rule, it will stay in the pending status, meaning someone, as in like a centralized authorizer, will be built in OneUp. They have to go and validate these approval rules that has been created. So not anyone can create these approval rules. Only an enterer can create the approval rules. But then again, someone, as in like a centralized authorizer, should always be there to approve any approval rules that are being created inside this module. So for an example, if you select view history, now in this history, it's no history found, because this rule, when it was originally created, it was approved in one go. But then again, if this rule was rejected, then under history, you should be able to see who has rejected this approval rule as well. So this approval matrix is simply the solution for you to have or replace the post authorization banking approvals that you are following right now. You can have that banking approval mandate being built inside OneHub, or if you have inside internally, if you have in your organization, if you have any bank if you have any approvals that are currently ongoing, you can replace it via here. So for any payments that have been posted from for any of these ranges, it will directly go to that parties' email addresses, so that they can view their payments that are being pending, that are pending for them to approve, and they can just click process, and that payment will then directly get processed. So that is that is simply how the approval matrix works. And the final module we have is the audit log. So audit log is basically a security tactic that we have built, where you can see each and every user behavior. So right, the last module that I went was approval matrix, and the message that got passed was get approval matrix. So history. So this is somewhat of a user tracking that we have built inside OneHub. So you can just have a quick look at what have that user been up to inside OneHub itself. So this is how OneHub looks like for from an interest perspective. So now I'll actually log in as an authorizer and show how it looks for an authorizer and how they can approve payments which have been sent to them. So It's the same interface. You just have to log in as an authorizer. And the main change that you can see in here is under fund transfer main module, you have this approvals submodule. So what approvals submodule does is, now if you go to approvals, these are all the payments that have been sent to this Malaka person in here who is an authorizer and are waiting for his approval in order to be processed. So they can view all this information. They can simply select it and they can either approve it or reject it. So if you reject it, it will directly go to rejected, and if you approve it, it will simply process from the bank's end. So likewise, the only change in here for an authorizer will be replacing the transfer submodule to an approval submodule. And when you come to the dashboard, in here under the await in my action section, it will directly log into your it will direct you to the approval submodule, because those are the activities that are being pending for you as an authorizer. And all the information, just as the entry can see from the dashboard, you can also view it as an authorizer as well. And all these other modules will be the same. Vendor master. So vendor master, under vendor master, you will have two new submodules called pending approvals and approved records. So for each and every vendor information, where you can, as an entry, you can edit all these vendor details. But then again, those vendor details will only be saved to the current version if it is been approved by an authorizer. So that authorization layer has been added to store to all these vendors bank details as well, because vendors bank details are sensitive information. We are storing it in OneHub as a replacement to the ERP's functionalities. So any of the vendors bank details, when they are being modified or have done any alteration, you still have to go through an approval rule in order to store those vendors details. So likewise, we have an approval layer for vendor master, and in here under approval matrix also we have that. So you can see what are the approved records that have been that are created in the system already. And if any approvals are here to be approved, then you can also view it in here. So this one is the one that I created, so I can just simply approve or reject it. So when I approve it, from there onwards, the implementation will be prepared for that transaction rule itself. So any payment that falls under this range now from the ERP system directly can be processed and sent an email. And the audit log will be the same. So these are the two main waves we have in OneUp. As an enter, what are the things that you can see, what are the modules that you have access to, and also as an authorizer, how you can approve payments from the approval matrix, how you can authorize the transaction rules that have been sent, and also vendor master approval layer as well. Yes, so this is the end of the demonstration. So I'll actually open the session for any questions to be asked. You can raise any questions by unmuting your mic.
Hi everyone. This is Praveen here. Do we have any questions? If you don't, I mean, you could even tell us how you all currently manage all these transactions.
Praveen, Nalinda here. Uh, Hello,
Hi,
can you
Nalin.
hear me? Yeah, Praveen, this you already shown us the platform that you are working with. In ERP side, other than what you have mentioned, any in-house developed system can also be considered if you have a requirement, no?
Yes, Nalinda. We can connect any platform to it because it's all API fronted.
Understand. Another question is the banking partners. I saw that you have many leading banks included. Have they included all the treasury, payment, and trade modules, or are there like differences? Because I know for government payment, nobody may be ready yet. But other than that, if you keep that aside, the all the treasury and normal payment APIs are available with these banks, right?
So at the moment, Nalinda, so anything related to SIFT, RTGS, slips, and some banks have introduced TTs.
TT, okay.
So yeah, it all depends on the banks and how they have enabled their APIs.
Understand.
So we can essentially, when they make them available, we can connect to anything.
Understand. So that's depend on how their API is offered to you, whether that's covered everything. But to your platforms connecting is all right as long as they offer it, right?
Sorry, Nalinda, could you repeat
No,
that?
no, Praveen, you mentioned that it's a bank choice, no? So the if bank has enabled it, you can basically connect it.
That's correct. Yes.
All right.
So
Thanks.
right now, even in terms of all the banks,
Hmm.
some of the banks don't have these capabilities.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
that is the biggest catch. If not, we'd have every bank in Sri Lanka on the platform.
Understand, Praveen. Yeah.
Um, but I mean, I think as a use case, just to help you understand. So right now we have about, I think, close to about 10 implementations which are run on one hub. And I think the most important thing is to save time. So right now, if you look at it, if you run around maybe even 300 transactions a month, you can easily save about 3 days just by making sure that you don't have to do all of these things manually. Plus, if let's say you're reconciling transactions, we can help you do that too. So for example, certain clients, we get all their account receivables, then we check all their bank accounts against the receivables and match those transactions. For example, now some of you might already do this in your ERP, but some of you might not. So we can do that functionality too. Yeah, Narinder.
Yeah, Praveen, another question. Now, this arrangement, is there any indemnity, whatever you implemented already? Was banking requesting any indemnity on this thing, or how it works?
Um, Indemnity in the sense, Nalinda.
For example, Praveen, now sometime bank when they have a direct integration with our system, they are okay to go without any indemnity. But if there's any other involvement, they ask for indemnity that they are not, what happen if the duplication goes, any errors and etc. Because to cover, I
Correct.
think bank
That
side,
is something. That
sometimes
is
they,
something that
yeah,
we
yeah.
yeah. No, fair enough. No, I understand the question. I think from our end, what we have done is, I mean, we already have the 9001 certification, plus we are also on the 27001 certification, which we will get soon, maybe in about 3 to 4 months. So in terms of security and governance, we have that covered. So indemnity, what we offer them is, or the banks and the clients, is that we will make sure that the security part is also strong on our end, but that also depends on the bank's end. Now, we also have, for example, certain transactions. I don't know if Samin was able to show you. Um, it will check for all the transactions. Now, let's say you have sent one transaction across. We'll make sure that ID is not duplicated again. So there are, for example, guardrails within the system that will, what do you call it, stop those things from happening. And even let's say one transaction hasn't gone through for whatever reason, we will make sure that we can try and push that transaction till it becomes successful. Sometimes we might have a limiter. Let's say you want to try it 5 times and then you want to stop. We can do that too. So all of those things can be done through the system. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, to an extent, what we'll do, Praveen, we'll get into some conversation outside, so we can go a little, more detail and specific scenarios, and to understand, because we have a requirement. Actually, we were thinking of a similar sort of a platform. Ideally, some government agencies would have implemented it, but good that you have taken this sort of initiative, because this is a requirement, because otherwise having multiple API connecting to our system is a real headache for the moment. We'll get into little detail on a separate discussion, Praveen. Thanks.
All right, Alan. Thank you for your question. Do we have any other questions from anyone else?
Yeah, I think if anyone doesn't have any other questions, we could actually share the recording of this webinar. So you could go through the webinar again and see if the requirement is being met, and if we can arrange one-on-one demos with you guys as well. And yeah, thank you so much for joining this webinar. Thank you for taking your time in the morning, and hope you have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you.